My God. And their plan is so horrific, they think we're too weak-minded to face what they've admittedly been caught doing and to resist them. Are you pathetic scum that deserves to die? Are you going to prove them right? It's up to you. The globalists have been so arrogant that they've not even hidden any of their designs. They think that it's so horrific that we'll just let them get away with what they're doing. Are we smart enough to learn from history? Government is the #1 cause of unnatural death throughout all of human history. Government tends to be taken over by psychopaths who are completely ruthless. Good people tend to stand down and let the psychopaths do whatever they want to them simply because they are the authorities. But the technocratic eugenics social engineers are not content to just soft kill the population. All across the Western world, from Australia to the United States, government-funded universities have been developing level 4 super weaponized viruses and bacteria that kill over 90% of the mammals that come in contact with it. That's more than 9 out of 10 people on your street dead. Weaponized airborne Ebola, weaponized airborne mousepox that can be designed for humans, weaponized airborne smallpox, weaponized airborne bird flu, weaponized airborne H1N1. Our own government dug up dead whalers who died of the Spanish flu that killed more than 40 million people. And they've dug up the original bubonic plague and replicated it. They've taken every disease ever seen in history and souped it up. And they're now developing massive storehouses of these weapons in the name of biodefense under the BioShield program and storing them in level 1, 2, and 3 facilities. Let me put this in layman terms. A level 4 bioweapons lab should be 3 floors under the ground, barbed wire fences, minefields, and machine guns, and a system that if the super germs get out, they pull a lever, alarms go off, and the whole place goes up in flames. But instead, the global elite are storing it in level 2 facilities like the University of Texas at Galveston behind a glass door with a swipe card, right there in Petri dishes. And they're doing this so that when they release it to massively reduce population, they can claim it was an accident. This is one of the biggest threats we face, is the fact that these eugenicists that run our governments have produced literally hundreds of super weapons and are just waiting until they've got their police state grid in place to release them. There are countless other examples of government weapons programs that endanger our planet. You know about nuclear weapons. You know about systems that kill all the life but leave the buildings in place, like the neutron bomb. But then, of course, there's also race-specific bioweapons that people like Dick Cheney talked about in the PNAC documents. Weapons that kill certain racial types and leave everyone else alive. In fact, it's possible that a weapon could be released and only Asians would live, or a weapon could be released and only people of Northern European derivation would survive. Or weapons could be released where only people of Semitic background are killed, or people of Semitic background survive. These systems have been developed and are on record. But getting back into nuclear weapons, the Air Force has admitted they've been testing and trying to develop things like antimatter bombs that could actually destroy the entire planet. And yes, scientists at CERN have come out and said, well, there's a low probability that we'll create a black hole that destroys the Earth, or a strangelet, or a particle that sinks to the center of the Earth and then causes the planet to implode. My problem is this. The globalists have shown that they think they're God, but they're not. They're very reckless. They're full of bravado and chutzpah. And we now have hundreds of nuclear reactors in the world that are close to 40 years old or older, which are now literally rotting. And 9 out of 10 reactors are now reportedly leaking radiation. And the elite just doesn't care. You know, a great example of this was in the 1940s when they first tested the first A-bomb. Many of the scientists thought that it could ignite the world's atmosphere and kill the habitability of our planet. Thank God it didn't ignite the atmosphere. But the point is, they still went ahead with the test in their search for godlike powers.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
And in their own words said, we have become Shiva, the destroyer. We have become Kali, the god of death. We are going to take on these powers even if it destroys us. A few decades later, the United States had tested more than 100 high-power hydrogen bombs in the upper atmosphere and in the Van Allen radiation belt. The Air Force wanted to see if they could blow up the atmosphere. Again, they tell us all day give up our liberties because somebody might detonate a car bomb, but meanwhile, they're firing hydrogen nuclear weapons into the upper atmosphere in an attempt, in their own words, to blow a hole in the atmosphere. I interviewed years ago the director of HAARP, and he admitted that they're able to ignite the atmosphere with this system. Our whole world has become a giant experiment by mad scientists. This presentation is only a small part of the evidence. Unfortunately, the facts are incontrovertible. We have a group of mad scientists who believe that they are supermen and a race separate from general humanity playing God. One reason the globalists are so arrogant is that they've got advanced technology. They've been suppressing what's been doled out to the public, so they think they can control all of these systems. None of this is new. If you go back to every ancient civilization, the elites believed that they were God and the general population was scum. And the longer a dynasty went, the more decadent and crazy it got. The more the elites began to believe that they were infallible and God. And it's this same incredible hubris that is endangering our civilization today. You have all these elite families interbreeding with their aggressive genes, their psychopathic genes, their sociopathic genes. And then philosophers and scientists come along, like Thomas Malthus 200 and something years ago in England, and says, oh, let's bring back the plague. Let's give people diseases. Let's reduce population. And then you see every other major British scientist, and then German, Russian, U.S. scientist since then, who's into eugenics, saying Malthus was right. Let's promote the plague. Let's kill the general public. And then you've got these inbred elites who are into all this stuff going, absolutely, let's do it. And then you find out they're putting stuff in our vaccines, our food, our water. They're engineering Trojan horse genetic traits into food that are causing organ failure and sterility. And you realize that a bunch of crazy psychos are in control. But I'll tell you what's even crazier. These psychopaths aren't even in control. They are so arrogant and think they're so invincible that they've got thousands of laboratories splicing every plant and animal you can imagine. Monkeys that have got 5 or 6 other species. Fish that have got insects in them. You name it. It's just pell-mell, helter-skelter, pedal to the metal, wild. If we don't turn this around, we face a nightmare scenario. The globalists are already trying to start World War III right now. They're funding tens of billions of dollars for 30,000 drones in the skies over America. They've got neighborhood watch groups now spying on their neighbors for their political speech. It's getting more and more Twilight Zone by the minute. Let's rediscover the Bill of Rights and Constitution. Let's rediscover common sense, basic liberty. Let's protect individual rights. Let's get the globalist controllers under control. Let's point out that they're a bunch of lunatics. Let's stop buying into their whole Madison Avenue, Wall Street, Hollywood false reality. Let's rise above their control paradigm and really see it for what it is and call it out. You can't fight this system from within anymore. You got to realize this house of cards is already coming down. And the only way to save our civilization, our species, our society, is to face just how dire our straits are. All I want is for our species to continue. All I want is prosperity for our progeny, our great-great-grandchildren, to be able to live in peace and explore space and be successful and look back on the trials and tribulations we went through as an example for the trials and tribulations they're going to face. I mean, the level of corruption and flat-out demonic evil that we're putting up with is just ridiculous. We're at the crossroads, my friends. Our future, our destiny, our very existence is up to you.